first day, first matchup of the Chainsaw Slaughter, sponsored by Grindhouse, one of the best competitive DBD stations around. Make sure you check in and follow the channel. I'm joined here as one of your casters, Georgie, with Odd Nostalgia here. And today we've got a demo matchup. We're watching two teams, Divine Angels and Raymond, our first matchup of this tournament. Arishi going to be killing for Raymond. And Autumn, talk me into this demo build. How do you think demo on Thompson House goes?
Well, over the years, demo on Thompson House results have changed quite a lot, but we usually see around that like 5-stage minimum to like maybe 7 if the game goes well. But I have seen a few 4Ks from time to time, although I will say it's rare. With a build like this, you could probably expect somewhere in that range as well, but with the no-ed, you never know what might happen with this first hit coming in so fast before rotations are fully finished, and maybe a potentially fast first chase since he's coming over here to the corner of the map where he could very easily get zoned out here. This could potentially raise the stakes here for the survivors and give higher stages. What a fast first down. He's not going to quite make it to the pallet either, so that's going to be the first down at 5 gens, which is very, very fast for a standard Thompson House demo game.
Yeah, great start.
That pain resin play too. It's rough.
Yep. Dead Inside choosing to play that pallet gem, unfortunately getting mind gamed a little bit, and Demogorgon so dangerous with those kind of tiles. Any sort of kind of straight line there, just making his in chase power with the shred ability so difficult to maintain that distance and play that pallet properly. Arishi playing it well to get that first hook, but like we talked about earlier, Thompson House is such a large map, and the stages on this map can go from quite a wild difference here. But hold that thought, we've got a chase with Iran into the cow tree. Or is she gonna zone with the shred and end up taking an M1? Meanwhile, the unhook on the Dead Inside comes out, and we're not seeing a chase on that, so no tunnel out so far. Holding this chase with Iran is for the Divine Angels. It does take a quick shed! A good cred by Urshi, making sure that goes down quickly. But, I mean, Autumn, this is another fresh hook. Do you think he's even going for a tunnel out at this point?
I think he's potentially not playing for a tunnel out just because of the size of the map. Although I will say with the gen pressure being the way it was the first down, he very well could have. Even after the hook going towards the middle of the map and seeing the 2 middle gens being the ones, a couple of the ones with progress, you can't really pressure those with the hooks he's getting. So he could definitely play for a tunnel out if he wanted to. I wonder if he's potentially just trying to get early pain resist to slow the gen pressure and then maybe try to bounce back and forth between people. But you know, we see this chase here onto the Jake once again, so that could potentially be what he's doing, just trying to catch the tunnels and rotations and just go for quick chases rather than fully commit to a tunnel all game. And this will allow him to spread the gen pressure a little bit better, albeit it's a little bit riskier. But with it still being at 5 gens, it's going to work out for him in his favor if he keeps playing it like this. And with the no-ed in his back pocket, he's allowed to take these sorts of risks and still get a good enough result for the survivor in case things go wrong.
Yeah, Rishi, but hold that thought. He's got a good chase here with Dead Inside, but good vault from Jake is going to make sure he makes that. A little bit of a miss aim from the shred. Rishi does have a chase opportunity with Jake, who already has a stage on him. But you got to remember, this whole time, the survivors for Divine Angel are cranking gens on the opposite side of the map. Look where this Jake is. He's all the way in the corner of this gigantic map. We're going to see something pop eventually, but a good mind game from Rishi is going to lead to his death eventually. However, that's a second stage onto Jake, and we have yet to see the second gen pop. It should come through soon. No painters available onto him, but I have to agree with Autumn. We are setting into an endgame with possibly a 3v1 and a no-ed in the back pocket. I could very easily see this turning into a 4KO or even a 4K1 if these gens aren't getting progressed. You can see the generator put next to Jake there is the one put with Eruption, and Arushi's set up in a good position to camp this out.
Absolutely. Within the highest progress gen, or one of the highest progress gens, is right next to the hook, and makes it very tricky to, well, punish the killer for camping and things like that. So with these survivors playing these middle generators on Thompson House especially, it can be tricky with these hook placements. I wouldn't be surprised if Arushi just camps this and lets this regress. I'm sure the gen in the top left corner will pop at some point soon, but other than that, they just do not have a lot of pressure, so I could definitely see this being a 4K1 or 2. These survivors have to try to make a play here. I think they can't just let Dead Inside die here, or else they are essentially saying we are getting 4K on gens now, which is a very tough win con to match. But it looks like they're gonna opt to just not go for the pull and not put that pressure on Denside's chase, as Arushi's going to be teleporting over towards this generator that exploded earlier, trying to see if he can interrupt it from popping in time. Although he's going to be checking the middle generator first, and again, they're pressuring these middle generators, and Arushi can just patrol these so easily. Chasing another survivor down towards Shaq now. Shaq Pal was not used in the chase on Jake, so, you know, this Nia still has a chance. Dodging, and very nice dodge from the Nia. Gonna try to make her way around. Does barely make it around. We'll see if Arushi's able to get this hit at all with the generator in the way. Makes it a little tricky, but that's gonna be the hit to the Pal. No drop from the Pal yet as Nia makes her way back around Shaq, looping it one more time. Hopefully, for the survivors on this team, we see the down half, or the gen's popping, but that doesn't happen. He misses, he hits the gen, and the Pal's gonna be breaking as Nia makes her way up to the next tile, and we do see that generator popping in the top left corner. Although Nia, another generator popping in the top right corner now. We have 2 survivors injured though, so Arushi could try to snowball this out and potentially still 4K on the 2 generators, but the survivors are in quite a position now to at least get another generator done, which is exactly what they were looking for. They needed these couple of chases down towards the Shaq side to get this pressure going back. But with that being said, Nia is eventually going to go down, and Arushi is going to take the 5th stage of the game.
And now we see where the generator pressure was for Divine Angels. Those 2 gens popping. 1, 2, bang, bang. And now we're down to 2 generators left. So what was seemingly an inevitable loss is now potentially maybe a little bit of hope if you're a fan of Divine Angels, wanting to see them here and overcome Arushi on the Demogorgon. But again, this is a 2nd stage. Autumn, he's in the gens, and this demo is just in prime position to camp this out and say, if you want this unhook, it's going to be a trade, or I'm making sure they die on this hook here.
Yeah, all of the gens are. Yeah, all these gens are pulled towards the hook right now. They finished all the gens in on the upper side of the map, which was great for the chase pressure, but now that it's down to it, and the down happened on this side where all the gens are, if Nia had been able to rotate up towards where the pop generators were, they would have been in a much better spot. But now all they can really hope for is maybe popping the gen that's towards main right now, if they like pull a risky play and want to double it and just assume that Arushi's going to camp, which again, it's very risky, but they could potentially pop that and just secure their 4K1 if they really would have liked to. But looks like they're opting to split the pressure a little bit more. They're getting some pressure on this corner gen and potentially on the gen towards main as well. And once again, we see the same thing that happened with the Jake. They're letting the survivor die and entering this this 2v1, which is going to be very tricky to get another gen out of if Arushi just bounces back and forth between them. And a hit coming in really early as we enter the 2v1 is probably going to secure that for Arushi, as long as we don't see some godlike chases, which, you know, we've seen stuff like that in the past. It can happen, so we'll have to see what happens here for Divine Angels. If they can get this good chase happening here, and it looks like they're not going to quite make anything. No filler pallet in sight. That's going to be the down, and Arushi's going to go straight for the pain risk just to ensure that no generators are going to pop. And we'll have to see how Divine Angels wants to play this out from here.
And now it's all up to Groom. He has the entire team on his shoulders, trying to stealth either play for a fresh out or play this 2v1 to get another generator popping. But the gen progress is not there, I'm afraid. With that pain res even further securing it, a 4K2 would be a massive result for this map on Arushi, playing killer for Raymond and representing them. But Groom, nowhere to be seen yet, so maybe a little bit of a slowdown of this match so far. He just wants to stay hidden, maybe buying his time on when he wants to get this unhook, or just playing for a fresh out, either way. But a 4K2, even if you do get a fresh out, just to tie and then win because you got now, I mean, you're asking a lot of your killer to 4K2 on this map that's so big with a killer like Demo, where, you know, a pallet can stop you and you're just pretty much an M1 with a giant lunge. Or is she doing a great job to pilot us to this result? But yeah, Divine Angels still, Groom is unforeseen yet, not yet to be found. And hold that thought though, we've got the scratch marks found, and he's found at Shaq. Arushi's gonna start the chase here. Groom is praying to Stigata to just die and hook quicker so he can at least play for a hatch. Just trying to hold it, fakes the vault, a good mind game from him, or either that was a quick and quiet, maybe so, but does get found in the corner. Arushi doing a good job fighting him. A good little bit of a shred does come through. Groom injured still, cannot make it to the vault, but Arushi goes for a quick little McDonald's hit through the window, doesn't quite land it, and now we're zoned to the cow tree, what will inevitably be Groom's death.
Yeah, no pallet in sight. I don't think the survivor is going to die fast enough for the hatch, as we do see Urushi's closing in that distance, and does get the down onto the ace here for that 4K2 for Raymond's side here, which, as you mentioned, with it being Thompson House, this is just quite the result, especially considering Noed saw no play. You know, you've got one perk that you're just not using for the whole game and still managing to get a result like that.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully Divine Angels is bringing some kind of fire build here. If they manage to pick something like that beforehand and can get like a result, at least a tie result for this, because again, 4K2 is just such a tricky result to be getting on something like Thompson House. But we will have to see after the break here if Divine Angels can get that 4K3 for the win or 4K2 for the tie on their Demogorgon, because again, with a win con like that on a map like Thompson House, it's just this gigantic map. It's so tricky. So we'll have to see after the break if Divine Angels can pull a miracle here, and we will see you all very soon.
Welcome back to the Chainsaw Slaughterhouse, round number 1, day number 1, matchup number 1. And back on our matchup between Divine Angels and Raymond, we just saw the killer for Raymond, Rishi, get a 4K2 result on Thompson House, and now we see Electro Doggo having to answer this back with a 4K3 to win and a 4K2 to tie for Divine Angels. This build looking a little bit of aggressive one, not any gen kick, just pure damage and pure chase. Crowd control coming through with force penance to make sure those hit tanks aren't coming through, but Autumn, I see a little bit of a no mither on the Nancy. What do you think that's about?
I have no honest clue, honestly, because this is not one of those maps where slugging is very apparent. I guess they're making the assumption that in order to match a win con like that, you might have to make some slug plays, but a head-on coming in now with the no mither in play as well. If Doggo wanted to switch targets to the no mither, that would be perfectly viable here. Although it looks like Jake making his way away from Shaq, but has Country over here too. No need to throw that Shaq pallet for that whole chase, which could eat them in the end, but greeting a little bit, trying to see if he can get that stun, and he is going to go down quite early. Once again, we see another early down on Thompson House, especially with this Pain Res in play. That's going to prevent the first gen from popping now. And now Doggo can actually recover from this current position, which is a pretty good start for him, I'd say.
That chase there, Shaq, didn't quite work out, and crowd control going to make it so these survivors have to leave the loop as soon as they vault that window of fast vault, leaving it blocked for 60 seconds. It hasn't quite been reworked yet. That 60-second timer is still feeling brutal, especially in a map like Thompson House. I mean, you look at these loops, the fillers can be not the best to say. I think the map is certainly got a little bit weaker for survivors in terms of strength of the tiles. Really all it has going for you is just a very, very large map. And Couchry and Shaq are one of your two strongest tiles, but with crowd control, that'll wrap it up quite quickly. Electro Doggo doing his best to find another chase here. Understands the win con of 4K3, doesn't have time to just camp this out to second stage. Needs to start a new chase and does find a Rishi here on the tile up at 11. Rishi giving the filler away. Electro Doggo just going to shred it through. And a chase on him into this tile is not going to mean he's far away from the hook. So Electro Doggo does go back to the hook, but does find the pull and interrupts this. This is huge if you're a fan for Divine Angels.
Yes, straight underhook with that force penance applied, and it looks like Doggo seeing that generator popping might just tunnel now. We see the Jake getting a little stuck on the lockers there, so probably not going to make it to anything but this filler pallet, which is very mine-aimable. Doggo just doing a quick double back, and is going to be able to get the down under the pallet here. Now with 2 downs and an injury, we see the force penance value coming through. We see no mither is essentially just a permanent force penance for the whole game here. So Doggo does have actually a lot of pressure here that he could potentially snowball with. Getting the second stage already at 4 gens, he could get this tunnel out pretty quickly, making his way over to pressure these survivors as he knows there's really not a lot of gen pressure on the board right now. Faking the shred as the Steve loops through this one more time, greeting it one more time, and Doggo not having that is going to get the down here under the pallet as we see the unhook coming across the map. Doggo, instead of tunneling, is going to pick and get that second pain rest to prevent another gen from popping here. And so Jake most likely will get reset in this moment, as I don't think Doggo has the necessary time to portal over there. We'll see if the reset comes through or if Jake just took his distance and might be trying to hide now, considering the position they're in. They might just want to prevent the tunnel out of it. It looks like they are going for the reset, which means if Jake does get found here, all Doggo needs is one more chase with Jake to get that tunnel out really early on this map.
Yeah, but at the same time, you see that no mither, and maybe that'll come into play. I mean, you see a lot of times with a hard win con, the killer generally just tries to get to the 3v1 as quickly as possible, and then it becomes a little bit of a slugfest. You know, we just get our injuries and slug a person here, then we can go for another chase and hook them, and you just kind of maintain the pressure that way. So maybe that's what they were thinking with this no mither on the Nancy. Headache in chase here, and talk about no mither. This chase will be a little bit shorter because of the permanent injury. A good mind game from Electro Doggo is going to force that down, but Nancy's not sluggable, so no opportunity to just leave this because she can just pick herself up. So forced hook here, and so now we have to wonder where the survivors are pawning at these generators. The survivors for Raymond not quite found yet for Electro Doggo. We know they just all full reset on the board. A lot of pressure gone for the killer for Divine Angels. However, the hooks are rolling in. That was not a pain res. That hook not meaning much at the moment for Electro Doggo. He really needs to find this Jake.
Yeah, fortunately for him, he does have time on his side here since there isn't a lot of gen pressure to be had. But I wouldn't be surprised if Raymond is putting Jake either in a really safe position or just having him stealth right now, because Jake dying basically means that the tie at least is confirmed, and I don't think they want that. I think they want to get that 4K1 at the very least. In their current position, it's possible too, as you know, Jake isn't found, but it's kind of like playing like protect the president at the moment. Like, Jake is just needs to just survive for a little while, and so if they have to let him hide for a bit, so be it. As we see Doggo go back to hook and might honestly just give up on the Jake completely, as he wasn't able to find him in that little sweep there, and might just go and tunnel out one of the other survivors he's hooked, which without Nancy being able to be reset here, she could be a prime target for this. Although he's not really looking for the Nancy right now, as it seems. He seems to still be looking for the Jake, as he's checking all these active generators and looking around to see if he can find the Jake again. Jake maintaining a good stealth here to make sure he doesn't get found out, and Doggo just hard searching here, trying to find his target, but Jake is just nowhere to be found, so Doggo, realizing this, just has to make his way over to the other generators to see what the progress is looking like, as you see some progress on the Shack gen as well. So there's a bit of progress on a few different gens here, which is good for Raymond, as Doggo is still searching for, at this point, any survivor that he can chase, as they're doing a very good job stealthing him out pre-leaving these gens, making sure that they do not give him any semblance of pressure in the current position, since they are kind of on the up right now.
And I mean, if you ask me, like, what the strength is of Thompson House, it is generally not a super heavy micro map for survivors. And I love this kind of play. I think it's a map that exposes a lot of your macro skill on Survivor. A little bit of a misshred there onto the wall, just a slight micro angle off is going to make it so it doesn't quickly break. But as I was talking about before, I mean, okay, Thompson House, it's big, and there's just so many opportunities to pre-leave and pre-stealth, and it makes it so as killer, like, checking these gens is so time consuming. So if you're not able to get a start chase immediately, these generators pop because of the distance you have to cover, and this is not the person you want to find. This Steve here is a fresh hook. I mean, yes, it's an opportunity for a pain res, but Electro Doggo not quite finding the 3v1 that he wants. We know Shack was being worked at the main time, so we'll see that pop eventually. And now Doggo, all he can potentially play for is a tie. The win con probably unattainable now, but a good mind game and just breaks the pallet, or breaks the breakable wall to find the Steve, but no down coming through. Nancy providing a good head on, but Nancy is a pain res, as we saw earlier. She wasn't used token. Ooh. And that shred doesn't hit. How? How does that not hit?
Same thing advantages, I guess. Nancy able to make it back around. This is potentially a good down for Doggo. She's still a pain res. She's on second hook. This could be a new tunnel out target, but with the pressure we're seeing from Raymond's side now, they can just be so aggro on these gens to play for that win con, and there it is. That's the win con for Raymond as they pop that fourth generator, doing an excellent job considering the rough start that they had. Able to reset Jake and just have him stealth out and not get found was just exactly what they needed for this win con, as Doggo going for this pain res hook now, just playing for the best result he possibly can, showcasing his skills from this point on, getting that pain res, and is going to see if he can take that pressure and potentially get that 4K1.
Yeah, extremely well played from the side of Raymond, both on killer and survivor. You can see they played the macro on this map extremely well. They were like, we'll be fine. You know, even if their gen progress wasn't, I mean, you look at the kind of teams that play in competitive DBD. Some teams are really aggressive. Some teams are a little bit more passive, and it's not always a time and spot where you can facilitate that aggression playstyle. So I really liked what I saw here, which was just chill out on the gens, just focus on not being found, and the time it took to just check every gen was too much for Doggo, and we saw the gens pop for that good stealths by Raymond.
Yeah, they did such a good job pre-leaving and just playing whatever their win con was at that point. And if Jake just needed to hide all game for them to win that, then they were not afraid to do that. See another chase getting taken here onto the Steve. We do notice that the gens are somewhat defendable here as well. They're not too far apart. Doggo going to be getting that down and could potentially get the 4K1. He does have that gen a little bit closer to the top side, but with portals and things like that, he should be able to traverse and pressure these gens. He's coming over here for another hook on this active generator as well. Bit of pressure lost for Raymond, and Doggo might honestly be able to turn this into the 4K1 that he needs as he sees the scratch marks here, or not that he needs, but that he would want to play for, as he chases the Jake over here now, which is a tunnel out. This is Jake's death hook, so Doggo going to be committing for this as Jake doesn't vault back in. Good mind game there, winning the 50-50, and Doggo going to be committing this chase now very far away from the generators to see if they can pop those generators and go endgame here. Doggo getting a little turned around as Jake's pathing is very unique in this moment, making his way over to this T-wall, just vaulting it. Once again, winning that 50-50. We see this is the 50-50 master, apparently. Doggo committing this chase even more, getting that Bloodlust 1, catching up on these scratch marks, and is most likely going to get his first tag here, but these survivors could very easily just be working the main generator since it is so much further out of the way, and that is exactly what we see. That's going to be the last gen popping here. As we enter the end game, Doggo trying to get this down to see if he can get more than just this 1K. Survivors most likely rotating over to gates now, and again, no end game perks in play here, so Doggo might just have to take this one down and call it a day, and it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen, taking the down, and then that gate is going to be open, so that's going to be 7 stages for Doggo. Excellent recovery from Raymond, as you said, just completely swapping their playstyle over to what they needed to swap to in that moment to meet whatever their win con was. So they did a good job adapting to that and punishing the little mistakes made by Doggo, and Doggo just not able to do the same on the reverse side here. So Raymond is going to take the advantage over on that side and get that first win on Divine Angels. That was the first game of the day. We've got plenty more coming, more Thompson House matches coming up soon. So please stay tuned and enjoy the rest of the day here at Grindhouse.